for many generations. Then came the orcish hordes. No one knew where these creatures came from, and none were prepared for the terror that they spawned. Their warriors wielded axe and spear with deadly proficiency, while others rode dark woods as black as the moonless night. Unimagined were the destructive powers of their evil magics derived from the fires of the underworld.
Where it all started, the original WarCraft, Orcs vs. Humans. And that is all it is. Where do I even start? With the post-knowledge of this game from both a story perspective and even a gameplay perspective of the WarCraft games that follow, you may be surprised at how simple yet enjoyable this game is. Made purely with pixel art rather than the low polygon 3D models later on, Warcraft 1 is still a staple of the RTS genre. I will say up front, most of my footage is a bit sped up. Now, the default speed of this game is set very slow. However, you can speed up the game with an option in the main menu settings. I played this both on normal and on fast speed, but just to show you the game's default speed, which is slow, look at this. Yeah, that's how I sped it up a little bit. Anyway, once you increase the speed of the game, it is more bearable to play, though it also means that the enemy will move faster too, so do keep that in mind with how fast you want to play it. Whether you fight for the orcs or fight for the humans, you are given various tools and resources slowly over the course of several levels, so you're not going to start off with catapults and wolf riders for an example. In fact, the first few levels that you play, the enemy will not have a base to replenish forces. Once they die, they die. There are even levels that are not typical levels. Occasionally, you can get on a level that's more like a scenario, such as the Dead Mines dungeon, where you're given a limited amount of forces and you have to kill everyone within the level. Though I blame my constant failure of this level to these goddamn slimes. Even if I put my warriors up front and the range in the back, they still engulf my forces and fuck them up every time, leaving me barely anything to use at the end of the level. Then, to spice up the gameplay, the next level starts off with your base being under attack, and you have to act fast to save what you can. The faster you are at killing the enemy, the more you get to start off with. When it comes to the gameplay, it is very basic, as this was during the early days of the RTS genres. There is a charm to the simplicity, but also there are limitations that can be annoying. For one, there are not many unit types per team, though there is a decent amount of upgrades for your units with the mill, the blacksmith, and the kennels. Not to mention all the various spellcaster upgrades. Necromancers can raise the dead NPCs to form a skeleton army for a short time. There's even a spell to see somewhere out into the map to discover it before you send a scout. Of course, that's me talking mostly from the Horde's perspective, as I am a Horde fanboy. But the Alliance, or humans rather, do get their own unique abilities too, with mostly their clerics and wizards that can heal and place damage protection shields for a short amount of time on their own NPCs. Unlike Warcraft 2, where you gather 3 different types of resources for the many new introduced forms of combat, there is only 2 resources in this game, gold and lumber. Gold is the more important one out of the 2. Lumber is primarily for building, while gold is both for building and for funding troops. Lumber can be gathered from any forest on the map, which will deplete slowly over time, but typically not enough to relocate. Gold mines now, you typically will have at least one spawn near your base to start you off, though it will be the most limited. Once that mine runs out of gold, it will crumble away, leaving your peons and workers to stand around and wait for your command. Let me tell you, this game made me realize the meme of the lazy peon. So many times I'll see one of my peons just standing around for one reason or another. After sending off your workers to a new mine, you can continue your quest for conquest. Though the farther your peons have to go to the mine, the more exposed to dangers they will be, and also the longer it will get your gold for your troops. When it comes to the lore, there is barely any of the lore we know of in this game. We all, of course, know about the new lore created for the First War with Gul'dan, Grommash, Doomhammer, Blackhand, Lane, Lothar, Medivh, and so on. Well, you know, the majority of those characters don't even exist yet. The only named characters in Warcraft 1 is Blackhand, Garona, Lane, and Medivh. Blackhand is the war chief of the Horde in the Blackrock Spire, and Lane is the king of the Kingdom of Azeroth. Garona is still a half-orc, but she is a spy who flat out assassinates Lane. She's not mind-controlled to do it, as we were told later on in lore. And Blackhand falls to the player in the Orc campaign, which low-key means we technically play as Doomhammer in the Orc campaign, even though he didn't exist yet. Now the humans, on the other hand, Lothar is not really a big player. He is a hero of their land who had gone missing for a long time, but turns up again as a prisoner of the orcs, and you have to go save him in the Dead Mines. And Medivh is not some protector of Lordaeron either. He flat out is called a warlock and is evil. The humans are given a task to take him out halfway through the game, and by the end, the orcs take Stormwind and destroy it, while the humans take the Blackrock Spire, which is in the Black Morass, also known as the Swamp of Sorrows. I will say this game isn't without fault either. I did have some bugs through my playthroughs, such as the first time when I played, I noticed that my NPCs were not attacking the enemies unless they were attacked first. So I assumed that it was just the age of the game, though on my second playthrough when I booted it up, when I was attacked by a human, the orcs in the nearby area would respawn. There had also been one or two instances where I would meet the win conditions, yet the map wouldn't finish, such as the first level where the win condition was simply to make 6 farms and a barrack. I had those, I killed all the humans on the map, and I explored at least 90% of the map, and it wouldn't finish, so I had to use a cheat code to trigger the win. Now this one is not a bug, but something that shows the game's age. The fact that you can only move 4 units at a time. In later versions, you can of course move more. Only being able to select 4 at a time, though, is a bit of a hassle as you constantly have to keep, clicking and moving your army a little at a time. It's not as impressive as a Zerg Rush, if you ask me. Now, even with all the few issues that I encountered, overall it ran well, and it is clear why this game became popular as it did, which spun into a whole franchise. With that being said, I am going to rate this game a 4.5 out of 5. I highly suggest trying out this game if you have tons of spare time. Now I say tons because even if you have the game speed tuned up, you might need to AFK and let your guys farm some resources for a bit. I did manage to play this for free on a website called retrogames.cz, and it is a great place to find tons of old ROMs and abandonware, including Oregon Trail, and of course SNES games. I hope you enjoyed this little retrospective review of WarCraft 1. Soon I plan to play WarCraft 2, so stay tuned, subscribe, like the video, and I will see you next time.